getting up with us live from that Cowboys-Broncos joint practice today. Ed, let's start with Dak Prescott. What is his approach to this season?
Yeah, you know, Mike McCarthy indicated that Dak Prescott will practice a lot today against the Broncos and next week against the Chargers. You know, practicing against unfamiliar opponents will increase the level of competition and more closely replicate game speed without the injury risk that accompanies preseason games where quarterbacks are subject to being hit and tackled. And speaking to members of the coaching staff, the thing that's most impressed them so far about Prescott's training camp has been his trust, sense of timing, and anticipation with inexperienced receivers. He and CeeDee Lamb have an obvious rapport, but Prescott's shown confidence in some of the young receivers who almost certainly have to contribute early in the season. And, you know, just in terms of observational reporting, I covered the Cowboys practices the entire first week of camp, and Prescott appeared to be moving exceptionally well, both extending plays, escaping the pocket, and running, unlike last season when he was coming off the first major injury of his career.
Yeah, you mentioned those receivers. Amari Cooper is now in Cleveland. Michael Gallup coming off an injury. James Washington, who they brought in, is already hurt. So is CeeDee Lamb, their first-round pick from a couple of years ago, is he ready to take over as the #1? And what do they have behind him?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Listen to this. Management decided that Amari Cooper was not worthy of his $20 million salary, even though Prescott had 16 300-yard passing performances and 9 400-yard performances in 44 games with Cooper. So that demonstrates the risk the Cowboys are taking at wide receiver. Look, there's no question within the organization. The Cowboys fully believe CeeDee Lamb's capable of being a lead receiver and among the best in the league at that role, but that may not be evident until Michael Gallup and James Washington, as you mentioned, return from injuries and draw some coverage away from Lamb. The only other receiver on the roster with an NFL reception is Noah Brown. But the Cowboys have been giving a lot of first-team reps to third-round rookie Jalen Tolbert. Prescott's praised him and undrafted Dennis Houston, and the addition of Cavante Turpin from the USFL as a space player has a lot of potential, but it is still a significant risk the Cowboys have taken here.
Yeah, a lot of question marks at that receiver position. We'll see if they add to it before the end of camp. I want to ask you about the run game, though. Ezekiel Elliott still there. He has been their feature back since he came into the league. Obviously, a lot of hype around Tony Pollard based on what we've seen from him the last couple of years. Are the Cowboys still planning to make Zeke their main guy, or is it more of a timeshare with the two?
Well, you know, Ezekiel Elliott has the highest cap charge among NFL running backs at $18.2 million, and that might be one reason Jerry Jones has been saying that Elliott has to be the featured runner, even though his statistical influence has diminished under Mike McCarthy and Tony Pollard's role has increased. Defensive coaches around the league fear Pollard's speed and explosiveness more than Elliott's physicality, but McCarthy's spoken about establishing a tough physical identity, and Elliott would be the player to achieve that goal if that's what McCarthy truly wants. And, you know, beyond that, I would tell you that Cowboys management has a higher opinion of Elliott right now than they did earlier in his career when he won consecutive rushing titles. And that's because last week he played every game in last year, with a partial PCL tear. He aggravated multiple times. Stephen Jones, the vice president, said, "No one competes like Zeke. In my mind, I admire the hell out of that." So this is the last season of guaranteed money on Zeke's contract. He's going to have to justify that $18.2 million with productivity, or this will be his last year in Dallas.
All right, Ed Werder, thanks for getting up with us early out there in the Mountain Time Zone. Enjoy the joint practices between the Cowboys and the Broncos. I want to bring it back to the table here, though. D. Wood, like, when you think about Zeke Elliott, how vital do you think he is to the Cowboys' success?
I think for Zeke, less is more. I think if you take away some of his workload, he can become a more efficient running back. I know Zeke was hurt. He had the injury. I know that. But if you just look at Zeke's career over the past couple of years, the production has steady declined. And when you look at Tony Pollard, he's a more explosive back. And you can do more things with Tony Pollard, especially in the passing game. So I think you need to start featuring Tony Pollard more. I understand Zeke is making a ton of money, has a big cap charge, but at the end of the day, what best suits the Dallas Cowboys offense right now? More Zeke or kind of maybe less Zeke, more Tony Pollard? That's the question that only the coaching staff can answer.
Front office perspective, you have Zeke there. It's the last year he has guaranteed money on his deal. You have a young guy in Pollard. How are you approaching this situation?
Very similar to what Dewood said, which is Tony Pollard is the future. He has 6.2 yards per touch last year, which was the second best in the NFL. Zeke, there's a role for him, but there's no way we're going to be paying him those sort of dollars. I'd like to see those dollars go to someone like Amari Cooper, who's no longer there. So Tony Pollard needs to be on the field. Even if you put him in the slot this year, he's the guy that defenses are going to fear, not Zeke Elliott.
I definitely don't think they should be paying guys that are no longer there. I think that's a poor way to go. But anyway, I don't know.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.